Hey, and welcome back, friends. And if you're new here, a high five for you.
Welcome! We're glad to have you.
I'm Travis.
And I'm Adelle.
And we're with the Noble Marriage.
We're here to serve your marriage through authentic, God-centered conversation that's going to point you back to Jesus and hopefully impact and inspire you to be your best self inside your marriage.
Our prayer is through our ministry, your marriage will be impacted with true love and intimacy.
So thank you again for joining us today. Okay, so yesterday we ended the conversation with Dr. Chapman where his wife walks into the rain and we cut it off there. So let's listen in and hear what happens.
I'm curious, one thing popped up for me is when you had those issues or struggles through your marriage, at any point, were you able to turn those to be humor?
I don't remember laughing much during those years. No. I remember one night we were in the midst of an argument and it was pouring down rain outside. In the midst of the argument, my wife walked out the front door into the rain. And I thought, man, this is bad.
Yeah.
When a woman walks in the rain, it's bad.
It is.
It's really
I couldn't even imagine you walking in the rain.
No, it would have to be super bad.
So, I don't know. We didn't have a lot of laughter during that stage of our marriage.
How long did that stage go?
It was, I think that the really deep part of it was probably a year.
Okay.
It didn't start right after we got married because I was still in love when we first got married. But 3 or 4 months into it is kind of when it started. And I was in seminary. I mean, 2 weeks after we got married, I enrolled in seminary to study to be a pastor. And so here I am in seminary and miserable in my marriage. And I'm thinking, there's no way I can ever get up and preach hope to people and be this miserable. Because I can't be a hypocrite,
Mm-hmm.
And but it was probably 3 or 4 months into our marriage, and then it lasted, I'd say a good part of a year. And then, of course, after that, it was learning. I mean, you're always learning.
Mm-hmm.
You never stop growing. We're still learning. I think marriages are either growing or they're regressing. Yes. They never stand still.
Yeah.
And so, but once we got over the main part, and I can tell you what really began to turn in our marriage.
Yeah.
I said to God one day, I don't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've done everything I know to do. It's not getting any better.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's getting worse.
So I just think it's hilarious that the way he tells that story, like, I just love it because I know it would have to be really bad for me to walk out in the rain.
I can't imagine you walking out in the rain. I was thinking when he first said that, I was thinking, I can't even imagine you getting wet in the rain. How angry would you have to be to walk out of our warm house?
Right.
It's
it
bad.
would have to be bad.
And apparently it must have been really bad for them.
Yeah. So one of the things he says that really stuck out to me, because this is something that we believe also, is that your marriage is either growing or regressing. And what stands out to me about Dr. Chapman saying that is he's been married 60 years.
You would think he'd be like, after 60, I'm good.
We got this.
Yeah. We can put it on cruise control. And we're going downhill.
Nothing else we need to do or learn. We got this thing figured out, No!
Obviously, there's work to do. If a marriage expert like Dr. Gary Chapman, who is very vulnerable and transparent in his relationship and his life and his marriage, if he's saying, listen, there's work.
There's work to be done.
It's valuable, it's good, but you have to either do it or regress. And I was thinking when Adele said that, I was thinking that's so true in personal life. As people, I'm either choosing to improve myself or I'm regressing.
Yeah,
and
it's just
I think
natural.
It's the same thing in every part of life. Because we're all human. And this is one thing I know about us humans is we're kind of like water. We kind of flow with the path of least resistance.
The easiest path.
Whatever is easiest, unless something is changed, like a choice. Like, what would be easier for me and you, Adele, is us not to have meetings, not to communicate, and just kind of go through life. it seems easier, but it doesn't work out.
Right.
It never works out, and it leaves
miserable people. You know, I just remember misery, and before we really came upon like what growth is like, we didn't even know it existed, like that it was even a thing that we were supposed to be doing. In fact, it was the first time I realized that was when we went to a marriage retreat for the very first time in 2016, and our marriage was hurting. Our marriage was hurting so bad. And I remember being there, like, there's this thing called growth. Like, we learned so much in that retreat. Wasn't it, Dr. Chapman?
Oh, it was.
It was. He was he was our speaker, the very first one we went to. And so I just remember hearing him speak, and I just found myself in his stories, and look at who he is. Like, if he struggles with the same things that we struggle with, I just felt normal. You know, it made me feel normal. So I love that even at 60 years married, he is still actively seeking growth with his wife. And I think that's why they've been married 60 years and so happy and passionate about each other.
It's proof that they are. You're either growing or you're regressing in your person or in your marriage.
Yeah. And we also talk about in several of our other videos, drift. You know, drift is something that happens in small increments. So much to the point where by the time you actually realize that you have drifted in your relationship, you're miles apart. And it takes so much work to rebuild that love and that intimacy and that connection. And so, you know, actively choosing to be growing in your relationship keeps you from drifting, which is so important.
Yeah, so make a choice today. Actively work on your marriage. Actively have a meeting with your spouse. Hey, how can we better work on our marriage?
Don't call it a meeting. Call it a conversation.
That's good. Yeah.
Because if he came to me and he was like, we need to have a meeting, I'd be like, oh gosh, I spent too much money and he's going to get on to me.
Maybe a conversation. Say, we want to have a conversation about this because it's so important to work on your marriage.
It is. So where the video ends is talking about a prayer that he prayed. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear what the prayer is. You're going to have to come back tomorrow. But I personally have prayed this prayer, or a prayer very similar, and I have gotten to see God completely restore and redeem our marriage through this prayer. And so I hope you join us tomorrow. You're definitely going to want to hear what Dr. Chapman has to say. We'll see you then. Bye. Bye.
Yeah.
You're so sweet, Haven. Thank you. Thanks. She's our biggest cheerleader. You did? Hey, you're not finished yet.
We're here to make a difference and inspire your marriage and other marriages as well. And if you found value in these videos, leave us a comment and let us know what that was so we can make other videos similar to that.
We would love for you to join our community of awesome, like-minded people.
They are awesome.
Go ahead and hit subscribe and you'll get daily motivational videos that impact your life and inspire you to be your best self. This also helps us get our message out to marriages all over the world. So thank you so much for subscribing and joining our community.